of the day is Ms. Subhaprada Nishtala. Ms. Shubha was senior executive with over 22 years of experience in quality operations in food processing industry across organizations, including Alphabet Exports. She set up Food Adroit, a boutique training and advisory services company established to offer solutions to develop efficient processes within the food industry. Alumnus of CFTRI Mysore, her experience includes a rich mix of audit and training delivery, frontline factory operations, quality assurance, and compliance. She has been a lead auditor to Quality's food safety and environment management systems with experience of over 200 audits. She has several national and international publications to her name, and she is also the editorial board of the Indian Food Packer magazine. She is a visiting faculty to several food technology institutes and is on board of studies with the Symbiosis Institute of Health Science and Microbiology Department of Women's College. She is the president of the Association of Food Science Technologists, Mumbai chapter, and has worked with state and central FSSI department in competence development to the changed regulations. She currently leads ITC FSAN, the training center jointly set up by FSSI and EIC as a director in charge. She has been conferred with numerous awards, including FSSI AFST Food Safety Professional of the Year in 2019. Ms. Shubha Nishtala, we are honored to have you as our motivational speaker. Do share your journey with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ananya. It's an absolute pleasure to be invited by COVE. I have been watching the COVE Maharashtra journey, at least on the sidelines, over the last few years. Initially very closely with Ashwini, and but being involved in some way or not. And it's absolutely wonderful that today on World Health Day, I have an opportunity to interact with your members and wish all of you, I think, good health, the best wishes that can be shared in the current time. I am a food technologist, yes, but in my role as the president for the Association of Food Scientists and Technologists for the Mumbai chapter, and AFST is something that I have been part of for very many years now. I think mentorship is an activity that we do very closely for both students, largely students, and also small entrepreneurs who are starting their journey in the food space. So in that role, I'm here today not to motivate, but I hope to inspire many of you to look at some key parameters which can help develop success as a food entrepreneur. My finding has been very few food technologists become food entrepreneurs. I don't know why. Maybe we know the risk too well, or maybe we are so well trained on being process oriented that we are not able to break away from that mold. Most entrepreneurs that I have seen in the food space are non-food technologists. I have 15 minutes, and this is what I hope to cover. My talk will be closely linked to food because that's who I am. I have spent 22 years now being in the food industry. So I will talk about the universality of food, of course, a little bit of scope of the industry, though it was beautifully covered by Krishna when she started her session. The mantras for success based on my experience, at least for the last 6 to 7 years, mentoring startups, both through AFST, on the expert panel of numerous incubation centers. Some soft points which will help turn to success. Technical, yes, a lot has been discussed by both Mr. Jain and Krishna. If there are questions and if I'm able to add, I'm more than happy to add on that. But my talk will be focused on the softer aspects specific to the food industry. What are those 3-4 things which will help build better success? Innovate or evaporate, and finally we have some time for interaction. Right, so I've been asked to share a little bit of my journey, touching almost 25 years now of my journey here. I think it's a good time to share that I am not a food technologist by design. I am an accidental food technologist. I had the privilege of studying at one of the most hallowed centers for food technology globally, not just in India, definitely in India, the Central Food Technological Research Institute. That beautiful palace that you see there is called the Cheluamba Mansion. It was gifted to the government of India when Pandit Nehru spoke to the Maharaja of Mysore and said, we want to set up a research center for food in your state and please give us some land. So he very magnanimously gifted his sister's palace, the Cheluamba Mansion. And it is in these grounds that 26 independent laboratories were put together under the Central Food Technological Research Institute, where even today it's the principal CSIR, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research lab for food research in the country. I spent time studying there. The only reason I ended up there because post my graduation, I was very, very sure that there is no way I'm going to get a seat in MSc in India, in Mumbai. And just out of sheer desperation, because my friend was traveling down, I said, let me also go and write this exam. Little did I know about food technology then. I was a passionate microbiologist. But having gone there, having interacted with the faculty during the entrance exam and understanding this entire new world of food science, food is something that we all take very lightly. Like cricket, every one of us is an expert in food. And, kya hai? Khana to hai. But food science, and for all of you who are considering a journey of entrepreneurship in food, I think my first input to you is spend time understanding the science, the shelf life of a product, the parameters of a product. It's nothing, it's just chemistry. So spend a little time understanding the science behind the food, and that can be your step one to a very, very successful entrepreneurship journey. So that's how I started. I think each of us has some values that we live by, and this is what I have tried to internalize. Yad bhavam tad bhavati. As you think, as you feel you are, what is your attitude, that is what you become. And this has helped me stay very balanced in the entire journey. I think it's and again, when I said I'm not trying to motivate you and I'm trying to inspire you, that's one of the reasons. Motivation is something that is externally created. It's an external push that doesn't last too long. And inspirational is an internal thing. It's something which sparks off your desire to be different, to make a change, to achieve something. So yes, identify that one defining principle or value for yourself, and that alone is sufficient to lead you to better successes. Moving on to a little bit of food, and as I said, oh God, the number of people who believe that food technology is nothing but cooking is not funny. अच्छा आप food technologist हो, आप खाना तो बहुत अच्छा बनाते होंगे. Well, unfortunately, no. Culinary science is a science in itself, and a food technologist only touches the outlying layers of culinary science. But yes, we as Indians have a very, very deep connect with our food, and Anna ko to parpurna brahma mana gaya hai. We believe that what we eat defines us. And this is not about today. This is about our entire mythology as well. We know the Nalapaka, which was written by King Nala. Is a beautiful book of 11 chapters. It's available for free download in about 13-14 languages. You should have a look. It has 3 chapters dedicated to vegetarian cooking, 3 chapters dedicated to non-vegetarian cooking. It has chapters on food preservation. So everything that Krishna spoke about, she spoke about dehydration, she spoke about freezing, it's there. Of methods of preservation, of correct items to mix together. And again, this ancestral knowledge, this ये तो हमारे पास धरोहर में आया है. I know my grandmother telling me that आज करेला बना है तो साथ में तुरई बनाओ, एक hot एक cold. So there are these interactions which today I understand is food chemistry and has a certain nutritive value, but is something which we as Indians are blessed to have literally limitless pool of knowledge on it. We have the Sita ki Rasois, which are across the country. She's उनको पूजा जाता है as one of the most accomplished cooks, in addition to all her other. She is Mother Earth herself, isn't she? When you look at the Mahabharata, you have the story of Bhim, where in the Akyatavas, he spends his time as a chef to King Virat, and as Ballava, he writes a book, and that is itself a beautiful book on various cooking methods that there are. Shahjahan's Nuske Shahjahani is, has so many beautiful. And again, the point that I'm trying to make here is not the recipes that these books have. Each of these books talk about food interactions. They talk about processing. And that's the beauty of our connect as Indians to food. So can you go wrong being an entrepreneur in food? You will really, really have to work on it to go wrong. Innately, we have the knowledge, we have access to a lot of information, both current, modern, as well as ancient information that there is. So look at that information, look at understanding the science, the interactions before you start off your journeys. Looking at a slightly Western outlook at of foods, when you look at the famous Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's right there at the bottom of the pyramid. It's a physiological need. All our Hindi movies have spoken about roti, kapda, makan. Yeah? So it's the first. Even in roti, kapda, makan, it is never makan, kapda, roti. It is pehle roti. It is our primary physiological need. And yet, when you look at food and, you look, of course, our culture, you look at the Yoga Shastras, you look at so much that our culture talks about, but increasingly science talks about as well. You see that the food that is consumed has an impact on all of the other 4 needs that were defined by Maslow. Can food give you a feeling of safety? Yes. On a really, really low day, that bowl of dal khichdi makes you feel loved, makes you feel safe. A good chocolate does wonders to pick up your self-esteem. There is science to it today. Today, we are beginning to understand the science that, okay, it's the caffeine which is giving you the pick-me-up. It's the turmeric in it, which is helping create certain biomolecules in your brain, which is making you feel loved. Today, we're beginning to understand our science. But the point I'm making is, though food is at that bottom of the physiological table of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it impacts right up to self-actualization. अगर आप योग शास्त्र पढ़ो तो sattvic food is a requirement for self-actualization. That's how important food is to human beings, and that's how much knowledge we as Indians have about our food and our food processing. The entering of a food processing sector, I think, is as much ethical and moral role that we play as much as an economic one. Yes, we do make our monies, we do work at a transactional level on food processing, but I would also like to identify to you and to highlight that a sound food processing ecosystem in our country could go very, very far in pharma development. We are a country which processes only about 40% of our fruits and vegetables. We throw away 60% of our fruits and vegetables. Various reasons, many of you, I'm sure the bankers would have, or many of you as entrepreneurs would have information around why that happens. The point I'm only here trying to make is each of you who's entering that space of food processing is helping benefit a huge segment of farmers by taking that 40% a little higher, by reducing the wastages, by adding shelf life, by creating a market outreach for them. And I think a beautiful way of nation building. So keep that in mind. It's a very, it's one of those things which can really make us an Atmanirbhar country at the very most fundamental level. We've been speaking of the strengths of India, in the time of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, when the rest of the world was still living a tribal civilization. We're talking about 4,300 BC, and so we had a civilization. We had pots in which cooking happened. We had settlements. So we have that knowledge. We have the infrastructure, if I may so call it. We have the second largest arable land in the world. We have diverse agroclimatic zones, which makes most raw material available to us. We are the largest producer of dairy, of milk. We are the largest producer of pulses. Our exports from our food items are, I think, very, very robust. We also have a huge pool of skilled manpower, both at an agriculture level and at a food science and a food processing level. So that is India's strength when we talk about the food processing sector. And just as a snapshot, I know Krishna has gone into some detail on this, so I won't spend time. These are the various areas we are looking at. Food processing is not limited to one area. It is across marine, the beer and alcohol, the entire alcohol industry is now under food. Nutraceuticals or health supplements is a sector which is grown by leaps and bounds. One of the few where the pandemic has created very positive growth. We are seeing the entire range of consumer products, fruits and vegetables, grains, all of these gets covered under the food processing sector. The representative from SIDBI did speak about the grants that there are available. It's an area of interest for the government. So you find a lot of support available. Despite that, we are only about 25% organized. The rest and that's one of the reasons why we have such high wastages. We would be self-sufficient. We wouldn't have a cause for malnutrition if we were only able to increase our or reduce our wastage by, let's say, 10 to 15%. That's the scale at which the industry is today. We have numerous demand drivers for food processing, and I'll just speak about the post-COVID interest in healthy foods. Everything else has been in place for some time now, and I'm sure are very well understood. The globalization, the rising disposable incomes, the move to a nuclear family. But specific to COVID, we've seen a very, very interesting shift towards healthy foods. When I passed out of CFTRI way back in 1998, almost all our research projects and almost all the activities we did in the labs then was on kitne naye isme hum ingredients dal sakte hain. What are these new additives that I have? Can I make this a sauce stable at -20, at -22? How far can I carry my raw material? What are the various processes that I have to improve, extraction of bioactives from the compound? Today, when I sit here post-COVID and I interact with students from the same institute, when I interact with students from other institutes, when I see the trend of new products being launched, there's a huge shift. People want local. The scientists are working on traditional foods. There are so many universities which have opened departments in traditional foods where we are going back to learning from age-old practices. We are talking about, you know, a lot of people from Hyderabad. There is this process that happens in Andhra where clay ke matke mein they just put in buttermilk and rice, and they allow that to ferment and eat from that, you know, every morning in the summers with a little bit of avla ka achar or something. Today, that we are trying to package. We recognize that it is an excellent probiotic and it has huge health benefits to the gut. It is cooling. The avla brings in the vitamin C. So the trend is towards healthy foods. And the trend is towards traditional and local foods. Very clearly that we've seen, which especially post-COVID, we've seen a lot of change. So we are looking at things like, yes, nutraceuticals and functional foods, foods which can help improve mental health, as I spoke about curcumin or turmeric and pepper together, how can it improve? Home cooked foods, Mr. Jain spoke excellently about the entire provision of the cloud kitchen platform, which makes it easy for home cooked foods to be connected to consumers. Organic has become, in fact, organic has stopped being a buzzword. We've kind of moved to natural. We are not saying organic zaruri hai. We're saying let's go back to a native species, native plants, which can give us better nutrition, which are more sustainable for the farmer to cultivate. That's the shift that's happened. We will continue to see more changes. And I think the reason I put up this slide is as you consider entrepreneurship, these are some of the areas which are going to be of interest in the food industry. Personalized nutrition, we've already seen platforms such as Food Darzi, etc., which are available in Mumbai, at least, which do it. But at a larger scale, where we are looking at, you know, the organized food sector, the large multinationals who are also dabbling with personalized nutrition, digitalization, yes, artificial intelligence and big data. When I mentor startups at you know, either BIRAC or Tamil Nadu Agriculture University or the Kalinga University, the 3 incubations that I am associated with, out of a cohort of 20 people in the food, 20-25 people in the food incubation group, I find that at least 70% of them are techies who are talking about use of machine learning, use of big data and artificial intelligence in food, and adopting that is going to be a key differentiator as we go ahead. Yes, so product development, in interest of time, I'll quickly just move to the examples. When you are deciding your products, you either do it consumer backward or you do it technology forward. Traditionally, India has been a technology forward kind of product developing nation. We see a technology, we say, okay, now vacuum packing is available and therefore I will be able to pouch fill, or I have a Tetra Pak and I will be able to pouch fill. But a lot of work needs to happen, and the future really is in consumer backward ideas, where we identify a consumer need and develop products which meet that need rather than technology forward. Of course, both have a role to play. One by itself will not suffice. Both need to go hand in hand for success. With that, I close my little bit of section on the scope in the food industry, so to say, and what can work and what we should do well, and move on a little bit to the mantras, very, very loosely saying for success. The ability to take risk, very, very key. And risk has for long been a very negative word, but you know, Over the last few years, there's a concept of positive risk that's being accepted, adopted, in fact, and recommended through many of these standards. I mean, what is risk? It is just your willingness to step outside of your comfort zone, willingness to try something new, willingness to push the boundary a little bit, so to say. And as for any entrepreneur, that's very, very key to be a food entrepreneur as well. Just give me a second. So from the ability to take risk, moving on to the next one, which is to treat people equal. I think a very basic tenet that all of us, it forms part of the values of what and who we are. And it's something that we must accept, that all people are born equal and we should treat them as such and not basis their ability to help us at the right time. Moving to the last 2 seconds of any important activity, the ability to solve problems. It's not always about try, fail, try, fail, try, fail. You know, King Solomon's spider. It's not that. It is about adding in the steps of analyze and adjust. We do this activity when we conduct trainings. We blindfold a person and we say, you need to walk diagonally across the room from one corner to the other. If you send the person with no breaks versus you allow the person to open their blindfold every 10 steps, realign, correct their direction, and then let them go again. Obviously, the second method will have a higher rate of success. So it is important that we recognize that failures are, yes, very much a part. And I think most of us have experienced failures in one or many forms. It's not about getting up and trying again. That's a given. Of course, we will get up and try again. But it is what you do in those 2 seconds before you get up.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Start acting again. Yes, Ananya.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we are just exceeding our time limit.
Right. Give me 2 minutes to close.
So, yeah, if you can just...
Sure. Just give me 2 minutes to close.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to speak about was on positive teams. We have the oft-repeated saying that if you are the most intelligent person in the room, you should change the room. Surround yourself with positive people who find solutions in every problem, who look at challenges as opportunities and will hold us in good stead. Speaking about innovation, really there is no option to innovation. We need to innovate. We need to work very hard on innovation, and that can come not by worrying about the end result, but by engaging with experts and seeking scientific methods of developing better and more innovative ideas. Finally, do not dream it, deliver it. It's quite nice to have dream projects saying I want to manage a fleet of vehicles or have an AC job with lots of money around. But if that isn't linked with sound work, then this is what we are likely to end up with. Just close by saying that at the bottom line of everything, continuous learning is that one key aspect. The wise should learn to accept wisdom from anybody, even from a child. Doesn't that small night lamp light up the darkness which the sun cannot? So with that thought, I close and thank you once again, Kovey. It was a pleasure to speak with all your members.
Superb, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry to interrupt you because the session was so interesting that I didn't have the heart to tell you that, it's time up. But In current